One of the things that I'm big on is teamwork, and that's one of the things that I'm trying to work with our guys here on. And when I got here, I got an opportunity to sit and do some one-on-one time with everyone that's on the team here, and spend a day out with them in the field, see what they do, get a better understanding of the community, and just listening and learning. And I'm a firm believer of you have to inspect what you expect. So I wanted to get an opportunity to learn what they're doing and see how I can help them be successful. When they're successful, we're all successful.
Thank you.
Lawanda?
Angela, were you finished with your report?
No.
Okay, so, oh wait, I have one question.
Thank you.
Weren't you just inducted into?
No, I haven't been inducted yet. It won't be until October.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You might have to finish that section.
Yeah, please tell us what you.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, I'm actually getting inducted into the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame on October the 7th. Yes, I will go ahead and give my highlight, but I also want to give another shout out to another Park and Rec person that's in the building, John Wright from McAdams. No, definitely. So I'm just going to give a quick overview for Woodard, McAdams, and Edgemore. Unfortunately, McAdams had their power out for the last week, so I didn't really get much from Larry. However, they did have an amazing concert. And Ms. DeShazer can contest to this on Saturday, July 21st, the Sunset Summer Fest. They had amazing food trucks, live bands. It was a partnership with the NAACP and Hoy's Custom Print Job. I'm not for sure of the amount of people.
300, 350 in that neighborhood.
It was amazing. The food was awesome. Had some great vendors. It was a really awesome time. As far as if anybody needs to get a hold of staffing at McAdams, you can call downtown 268-4361, or you can call any other rec center. We will keep you posted on when they get their power back. It's a line that got broken down. So. This summer, we had over 589 kids between the ages of 6 to 13 attend summer camps provided by the Wichita Park and Recreation Department. We partnered again with USD 259 to provide summer food service, to provide free summer breakfast, lunch, or summer lunch and snack. You can either have lunch and snack, or you can have breakfast and lunch. In May, there was 3,508 kids fed. In June, we had 15,226 kids fed. We have not got the numbers yet for July and August. And this is just 7 recreation centers, which is amazing. Let's see, Woodard, to get back to libraries, which is very amazing. Our summer camp read 3,960 minutes this summer, which equated to 66 hours of reading time for our summer camp program. We participated in the summer reading program through the Wichita Public Library program. The program runs from May 17th through July 27th. Our summer camp started May 29th through July 27th. So basically we had 30 days of reading. We read every day of the summer. And what we do is we have our older kids read to the little kids, which helps the older kids practice reading out front. It helps with their stuttering. We have a lot of kids that don't like to read, but it helps with them reading with little kids. It helps build their confidence. So like when you get to be an older like me, you can talk in front of groups of people and feel very confident. So they really liked it. They grew to really enjoy it towards the end of summer. What's nice is at the beginning of summer, they all get to choose different books. And then I go to the Scholastic book fair and pick out different comics, different chapter books. So they really enjoy it. Our attendance and class enrollment, as well as revenue, is on the rise for Lynette Woodard. Halfway into the session, or 7 months into it, our attendance for classes is already at 2,126 in comparison to 1,588 in 2017. Our rental attendance for 2018 is already at 13,000 in comparison to only 8,400 in 2017 at this time last year. So our rentals have increased due to different partnerships that have been established through youth community teams. And then our programs through new classes, our trampoline, our cardio kickboxing, and our tots and training. That's our 1 and 2 year old classes. Another thing that we're doing is we're trying to partner up with different organizations, different people, and when you get our flyer, which Camila will be having with her newsletter on Friday, if there's any instructors or people that you know that want to do classes that have experience, we're more than willing to meet with them to talk about ideas in classes as well. We're always trying to learn and do different things for the community. A couple of new things that are coming up. This is going to be our second year for our open streets. I'm going to these out real quick. This is going to be September 23rd. It's from 12 to 5. It's a big event that the Wichita Park and Recreation Department puts on. It's free. We're going to close down 4 miles from Douglas Avenue to, Douglas Avenue, College Hill Park to Glen Street. It's openstreetsict.com if you want more information on it. We'll have yoga in the street, bicycle, walking, you name it, we have it. Tennis, a lot of different things. If you want to volunteer or anything like that, feel free. Fall classes start September 17th. You'll be able to register August 13th. I feel like I've rambled for a long time. Everything that I talked about, Camila will have and will be available for you.
Any questions from the dad?
Will you email me what you said?
Yes, I will.
Lawanda?
While you're still here, what's the update on Stryker Field?
I don't have all the specifics on it yet. I know that they're still working on it as part of getting it up and going, and it's going to be used for soccer, of course, is there. We're looking at how we can have opportunities that we can continue to do some of the football that we're doing in the community on site as well. So our athletic team is working on scheduling days that we can offer some of those programs out there also.
So for this summer or games moving, this fall, will they be at Stryker as earlier projected, or is it still gonna be at all the neighborhood parks?
Don't know the time frame on that yet, so unfortunately I haven't been as involved in that as far as what the timeline is and when it's going to be up here.
Question, do you oversee the golf courses as well?
No.
No, good. Thank you.
Any other questions? All
One
right.
question for you, or either one of you. What types of responses have you gotten from that open gym for the children? I mean, do you get a good turnout? Is it this Wednesdays?
It's Wednesdays. Well, it's Wednesday at Lynette Woodard. It's Friday at McAdams. So I can only contest to what I've had at Lynette Woodard. It started a little low, but it's picked up as the summer has increased. Yeah.
And McAdams have had a good turnout for it as well, so on the Friday nights that's there. And they also open up where they're doing some open gym during the week as well, between that 1 and 4 o'clock time frame to get some of the young people in also.
Yes, and as far as McAdams is concerned, although we don't have power, we can still shoot hoops out there. That's a joke, y'all. But Larry has said that the numbers were low to start with, but the last week before the juice went out, we had over 40, 45 kids there.
Wow.
We've had strong turnout during the afternoons. Majority, the teen to mid-20 athletes come out. Then probably close to close, then the teenagers start coming in. We allow them some time as well so everyone can share and get whatever is out before they go outside and play on the Antoine Carr courts. But the numbers are steadily increasing, and we look forward to adding to those numbers. And there is a small fee to that. We haven't heard any pushback from the community, so more kids are coming. They're taking advantage of the air conditioner during the summer, of course, before they have to go outside.
Lawanda?
One more question. Do we know the median age of
the median age for programming or for,
Program.
so, it just depends, so. So it depends on, are you talking about free programming or for?
Just overall. Does overall make sense, or?
Yeah, so during the summer, it's gonna be your youth, because your youth are gonna be your primarily users, especially because of your summer camp. You're gonna put in that number. So 6 to 13, 6 to 15.
So what about the classes, like the evening class, like cardios and the
Yeah,
boxing
then that's gonna
classes?
be your, 30 to 50. And then during your daytime, we have, a few daytime classes, 55 and up. Just a side note, our after-school playground and any of our youth, when they come in the gym, they do not have to pay. It's only 18 and older that have to pay the fee. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that was
For
clarified.
open gym?
Yes, for open gym. The kids do not have to pay for open gym.
Same in McAdams.
Yes, kids are free.
Kids are free.
Yeah.
Is that 1 to 4? I'm sorry.
Yeah, and during the summer, it was 1 to 4 over at McAdams. And the reason it was that is because they didn't have a summer camp. During the school year, it'll probably be different.
1:30 to 4:30.
Yeah. And there'll be flyers, I believe, that will be to Camila. And the same with ours. Ours will be to Camila as well. Ours will be, because we'll have adults in the afternoon, and then we'll have evening, or after-school playground, which will be free for kids as well.
Thank you.
Nope.
All right, can the Hall of Famer teach, work with me on my jump shot? Because Larry asked me to get out there on the court, and John unfortunately was a witness. Yeah, it was-
You got some work to put in there.
Hey, Krista, I'm ready to do your literacy basketball again.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to new business. We've got one zoning case.
Kathy Morgan, Senior Planner with the Metropolitan Area Planning Department. The zone case that you're gonna hear about tonight is located at the southwest corner of Central and Oliver. You may have noticed there's a new business that's opened up in there. They've painted and done a lot of good things with that corner. And so what they are asking is, they need to expand parking. And so they had filed an application for limited commercial zoning, a switch from SF5 to limited commercial. There's a little house there that exists now, and they purchased that property, and they had asked for limited commercial zoning on that to allow the expansion of the parking. And also, from years past, there had been a protective overlay put on that site so that signage would not be allowed to the south and to the west that would face into the neighborhood, the residential area. This case is going to be heard by the Planning Commission this Thursday. And let me see, I'm going to read something here to you. So in evaluating this application, general office zoning, the staff is recommending that we deny the limited commercial zoning and reduce that down to general office zoning. That's the first zoning district that allows commercial parking. And so we understand the need for that there, but the limited commercial zoning district would allow in the future maybe a wider variety of uses. So the general office is what we are considering a transitional zoning district between the limited commercial and the residential area. And so we are recommending that the application be approved with general office zoning and the expansion rather, of the existing protective overlay that governs the signage at that location. I know the agent and the applicants are here. I would be happy to answer any questions about the staff report, if you have any, or you could probably get more definitive information from the agent and applicant.
Any questions from the DAB?
Yeah, as it stands right now, with the new construction that went in just north of that address, when they remodel that building, do they have adequate parking spaces for that building now?
I am not certain about that. The agent,
We have adequate parking, the flow, we have adequate parking spaces, but the flow of the parking is disrupted quite a bit.
okay, so it's the traffic pattern of the parking.
Would you like to join her at the podium?
Yeah. It sounds like these questions would be better answered by the agent applicant, so I
Okay.
will stand by and add
Thank you.
anything if I can.
Yeah, Levi Vaughn with Cobb Valley Engineering, owner North Emporia, which is agent for the applicant, WG Farha. Can either give you kind of our point of view of why we're asking for the zone change to LLC and the PO amendment first, or we can answer your questions first. Do you guys have a preference?
Let's get that one question kind of re-answered.
So,
and then-
so right now, there is enough parking for the building. Right now, the current tenant is taking about 8,000 feet, and the whole building is 3,000 feet. So we're planning on, obviously, utilizing the rest of the building. That's gonna require more parking and better flow.
You say 800 and 3,000?
There's 11,000 feet total in the building,
Okay.
and the current tenant's taking about 8,000, and we have 3,000 left over, which, I think we have some really good ideas with the current tenant, who's gonna utilize that extra space as well. That's gonna be sort of an upscale use.
All right.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, so the idea to go for limited commercial first came from our development review meeting with the city, so we're somewhat surprised by their recommendation of just outright denial of the limited commercial zoning. What I had heard, there were some conversations with the city, and not necessarily in particular, was just, they were concerned that we didn't offer to amend the PO and to expand it to the north as well, to cover the entirety of the development. But PO, as it stands, doesn't cover the north part, and we were not going to modify something that's already there and wasn't ever required of them with half of the property. That'd be the property that's addressed off of Central, not all, so not where we're doing zone change right now. If it's a concern of the zone change, the current situation already has limited commercial zone property abutting a residential property. So from a zoning standpoint, the function is the same. And if it's an issue of how close the building might be to the residential property, or how close signage, if we amend the PO to allow for signage on the south face. I talked to WG earlier, and he'd be willing to offer like a 25-foot setback on that south line, so that way the building can't get too close up to the residential property. Do you have any other questions at this time, or maybe concerns?
So basically, yes, right now we're thinking parking lot, but I'm not sure if we wanna limit ourselves just to a parking lot in the future. Things change, and, you may have one really good user where, maybe a coffee shop or like a scooters, you could put somewhere in there who would utilize that area. So that's where we're kinda coming from.
Do you have something?
I was going to answer why the planning department, so finish what.
Oh, well, I'm just taking questions now, and if
Okay.
you can enlighten a little bit. I just know that in our original development review, it was the planning department's recommendation that we pursue limited commercial, and that's kind of why we decided to go this direction. Now we're just tracking it down, trying to get an agreement where everyone feels comfortable with the situation, and it feels like it's gonna be a value to the neighborhood.
So the thinking behind the recommendation from the planning staff is that we are very well aware of, and I mentioned it in the staff report, about how commercial abuts the neighborhood there in College Hill. And so the concern is that between Central and Oliver, it's only at the corners that we have commercial use. And as I said, the going to GO would keep the property, would provide a transition so that general office is generally is like an insurance office, doesn't create a lot of traffic. As they said, they don't have exact plans as to how that property could develop abutting the two-family zoning that's along that stretch there. And so that's why staff made the recommendation, and yes, we did have a meeting with them at our development review, but I think there were some wires crossed because we would have supported the limited commercial had they put the protective overlay on the entire parcel, just for future reference, so that it just comes up, it's under one ownership now, and so planning staff felt that the protective overlay should apply to the entire parcel. And so when the applicant declined to do that, that's when we recommended denial of the limited commercial and go to general office, because as I said, that is the first zoning district that allows for commercial parking. They could in the future expand the building into that, use it under general office uses. There would be a compatibility setback because of the residential to the south. So we feel that planning staff feels that the general office is a good compromise there.
Question. If they went with general office, did that give them the permission to put up signs and lighted signs and things like
No,
that?
the protective overlay would be expanded to cover that so that there wouldn't be any signage on the south and west elevations of the building. And that's what that addressed in billboard, I think billboards too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So the answer is no? So the answer is no?
the answer is no signage.
Only the protective overlay, right?
Under the
The
protective.
general office has nothing to do with
Yeah.
that.
Sorry, in general office, you would not be allowed any building signage facing that south line within 150 feet by the zoning code, but also by the PO, it wouldn't
But
allow
the
it either.
limited commercial could have the same protective overlay, correct? For no signage?
As the PO stands now, there is no signage on the south face of the building or the west face of the building. That's one of the requests we're making in the zone change application and amendment to the PO, is to allow signage on the south face of the building as we're expanding the length of that lot, so it's not as close to the residential anymore.
So basically, I think the way it is right now, the north side of the building, you can't put a sign on the west or the south. And the city would have said, okay, if we would have said, okay, we'll leave that in place for this piece as well,
WG,
to move it to the north.
they'd want us to expand it to the north as well, so it'd be a larger application area, which we did not apply for at the ownership list.
Right.
So
But we wouldn't have been gaining much anyway. If we would've done it. So we would've got LC.
is that something you could recommend now, Kathy, if we would apply the PO to the north?
Well,
I think WG's.
I think we're here to negotiate. I mean, it's not all or nothing. Maybe there's something in the middle.
well, and the way that the official notice has gone out, so this discussion can take place at the planning commission and the,
City
recommend,
council.
well, the recommendations can be made as conditions at the planning commission, and then it would go forward to the city council because it is a zone change. So at this point, I can't say yes or no. I'm gonna have to present this case to the city or to the planning commission
Right.
as presented, but you are more than welcome during that public hearing to discuss potential options on how to move forward.
So do we have a role yet? I mean, you're asking us to approve something that we don't even know what the answer is yet.
So.
Yeah,
Right?
Go ahead.
Okay, so right now, your vote would be on to approve per staff comments, how we submitted, so that's amending the PO, and then limited commercial instead of the general office, and the current PO being expanded to the south. Those are the two options that are in the staff report that was presented to you. Or you could vote on,
Well, the only other,
those
the
are
only
two.
other option you would have would be to delay your decision until after the planning commission hearing. And your next, date is September the 10th, so it would then be up to the applicant if they wanted to wait that long for a recommendation.
I don't think WG would wanna wait that
So-
long, we've been going
Yeah.
through the process.
Well, so, just so I understand myself, so tonight they can say, okay, we approve this, either GO, or we approve this with the understanding that they'll,
What the DAB needs to do is either vote to support the recommendation of the staff report or to deny it, to vote against it. Either approve it.
Denial.
Pardon?
Where would it go from denial?
Well, then your decision goes
Just goes
to,
to the planning
just goes to
commission.
no.
Oh, okay, go ahead. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Your decision is a recommendation to your city council member. So, based on that, then he has the option to determine what is discussed at the planning commission meeting on Thursday, and what recommendations might come out of that, and there may be some additional give and take on that would be in a final report.
But I get that, it's kind of hard to decide or give you I don't know if everyone feels this way, it's kind of hard to decide or give you an answer on what you're recommending when it sounds like the client is open to other options, and it doesn't sound like you've discussed all of the possibilities.
I think we should wait. I think we should go back to the city, talk to them, so they understand what.
Do you wanna postpone your public?
Yep.
I could, and the only way
Yeah,
I can
I
do
mean-
it is if I can get other council members to agree to send it.
At least a month.
Yeah, I mean,
So, and then
Yeah.
any other refiling fee. So the only problem with postponing is it postpones it another at least 30 days
before it
usually.
goes to city council.
And then also, he would have an official notice in the newspaper, you have an additional fee there doing that again. Well, we would like to hear some of your comments and
So,
your
can I ask you a
points.
question?
Yes, sir.
So,
I'll call you.
is the main issue, not necessarily them moving in, but whether they're gonna put up signage? Or is the issue that the signage affects the ordinance for the residential, codes?
This-
Mm-hmm.
The signage is already there by virtue of the protective overlay.
The signage is restricted by.
Right. They are asking to remove that one thing about having signage
Okay.
on the south elevation of the building, so that would mean signage facing into the neighborhood
To the south.
to the south. The other thing with changing the zoning to limited commercial, that brings a wider range of uses that would be allowed should they expand the building and say, maybe wanna come within, 25 feet or whatever of the TF3 zoning to the south.
Which affects the neighborhood.
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Now, immediately south of this, 431, all of
Uh-huh.
that is the TF3, and immediately to the west, is that correct?
To the south is TF3 all the way to Oliver, with the exception of the corners. And then to the west is a combination of SF5, TF3, and limited commercial. The limited commercial is along Central, and then there's a couple of mixed lots there that are single family, and two family, but they are, they're used as single family dwellings.
Were there any notices sent out to the
Oh,
immediate?
yes, by state law, we're required, that's what the applicant said when they provided us with the property that they wanted to discuss, and we said we wanted the PO to include the entire ownership parcel. We're required by law to generate a notification area based on the acreage
Mhm.
of that, and so that was sent out, the neighbors were notified.
And not one neighbor has shown up.
Yeah, and I haven't,
Are there any neighbors here tonight?
yeah, I haven't received any phone calls.
You haven't heard? you
We
haven't
haven't heard anything from the neighbors. I mean, our intentions are good for this corner, and, you know, I've owned it for 20 years. My cousin owns the corner on the other side, he owns about probably 8 acres over there, and his intentions are to develop that as well. You know, we've got, you know, we have good intentions, and I think the neighborhood is happy with what we've done from the comments that we've gotten from when they come to the store. They're really happy with what we've done, and we intend to do that as well.
You know, I personally, if I was living next door, I would not want signage and lights shining in my bedroom window at night.
Yeah.
And this is one of the things.
And we agree with that, and we can make concessions saying, okay, 10 o'clock, sign is off, you know, if it's on the, see, what happened was, so we have the 11,000 square foot building. And what happened, you know, Dollar General used to be there, Aaron Rents used to be there, another group used to be there, and all the parking was on one side of the building. So what we did is we put in a 25-foot vestibule, so the parking, and these people can walk over to the main area of the building, which leaves us 3,000 feet to the west. If you're following me, it's kind of
Uh-huh.
like an L, like you walk in the vestibule and then you have the big store. So somehow we have to get the west, we have to give them a little bit of signage on the building, so people know they're there when they go in. But I understand exactly what you're saying. So but we can give concessions to say, okay, your light's off at 9:30 at night, 10 o'clock at night, and so forth.
Okay,
Yeah.
let me get this straight. On the current property, you want to modify the protective order to allow signage, but you're wanting to extend that to this new property to have the same protection, but you want to basically move the sign back, right?
I just want to be able to put a sign on the south side of the building,
Where the current building.
where the current building is.
So we want to modify that protective order, but then you want to, would we be good to extend that to the new property?
Yes, 100%.
Okay,
And
and then put a 25-foot protective zone between the current properties out, not yours.
Yes.
But your property.
Yes,
And then you would like to have that limited commercial to open up your options.
yes.
I actually agreed to that. I think that's a very good standing, because what you want is to give them more space.
Yes, sir.
Put up the sign, then put the sign requirement on the new property. Now you've got a big buffer. Then you're gonna give another buffer to like 25 foot where you put vegetation and such.
Right, exactly.
I move that we've approved that.
But that's not what your motion is, sir.
That is what my motion is, to approve those conditions.
That's not this.
That's not the staff recommendation.
Right.
That is their request.
Okay.
Yeah, you're recommending approval
Of their
as the
request.
application as presented.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So-
That's a motion on the.
So we have one motion on the floor to approve, however you just said that, how did you say that?
The application as presented with, SF5 or TF3 rather zoning to limited commercial and modifying the protective overlay 229 to allow signage on the south and west elevation of the building.
Just the south face.
So
Oh,
we
just
have,
the south face.
So, yes.
so we have a motion on the floor, is there a second? No second, the motion dies. Further discussion?
You said you contacted the, go.
Sorry.
Yeah, so we're, go ahead.
Okay, so we're required by state law to notify everyone with a mailed letter. The applicant directly to the south is a owner occupant, so they do live there, so they should have been notified. Also, I can't remember what it exactly was for this case, because we were required to, I believe is on this one, that we were required to notify the same radius as we were for the PO back in the day. So, was this
Is
one,
that 700 feet?
was this one 1,000 feet?
No,
that's
no,
one.
it was not.
So I know it was at least 200 feet in each direction, so it's a 200-foot radius.
And there's been a
from-
sign on the front saying, changing from
Correct.
T3 to LC for at least 45 days.
Correct.
Because I think that's the requirement. And we haven't had any complaints from neighbors or anybody from College Hill.
So you saying you want to expand your business and do something different? You have any ideas what something
Currently-
different is?
Currently,
Yeah.
yeah, so I own the building, and I put a gentleman in the store, in there, he put a business in, and he's got ideas, it's a liquor store, and he's got ideas to do wine tasting, maybe do some new breads, fresh breads, small sandwiches shop in there, and
WG, just to clarify, that's an existing building, correct?
right now, the liquor store's in the existing building.
Yeah, and.
But he wants to expand wine tasting
Into the existing space.
into the extra 3,000 space.
Correct, all that's still in the existing building. Right now, by zoning it LC, it gives them future flexibility if it requires the lot to the south and then a building can fit there comfortably. And then, that's pretty much what we're looking for, is just future flexibility, it's just looking forward. And I know that on the property where the building sits now, it actually had to go through a zone change in 2009, I believe. And it was GO originally, and it had to be changed to LC. Just future thinking this way is that we're just doing this process once, and we're offering the restrictions for safety and comfortability of the neighborhood. And if there's any other questions, I'd be happy to answer.
See, the site used to be a little bit bigger, but we went through a condemnation case when they widened all of it. So they took some of my land, so that pushed everything back, which makes it extra tight.
You said for safety and comfortability of the neighborhood, what safety concerns do you have if it wasn't too big?
I would mostly be your safety concerns if you had a building directly abutting your lot line, which wouldn't be allowed in this zoning, but basically we'd be willing to do 25-foot setbacks so the building's not directly on there. Still have clear space next to your house, walk in the dark. I know we've had a lot of complaints about that on different cases we had done in the downtown area, so it's more of that standpoint, and from your guys' standpoint, we would like to make it where it's compatible with the neighborhood.
There is a compatibility.
There is on this.
Yes, there is a compatibility setback requirement when you go from commercial abutting residential areas. So there's already that compatibility setback plus the screening and potentially landscaping.
I would like to make a motion that staff report be denied.
So we have a motion on the floor to deny the staff recommendation.
Right, yes, recommendation, I'm sorry.
We have a motion on the floor to deny the staff recommendation.
Which would then be approving
Yes,
theirs.
Yeah.
Potentially.
potentially.
Is it just the recommendation, denying the recommendation?
Right, because staff had recommended that they would go with the general office.
Right, so you're in agreement with them to go with limited commercial?
No, I made a motion that that report be denied.
That the staff recommendation
That the staff recommendation
be
be denied.
denied.
I
Yes.
get that, but then that's going against what the original request is. So
No.
No, I'm saying, it's saying that, what I hear is if you're denying their original request, then you're okay with the original request. So if we're denying the staff,
Yeah, well, all you're doing is denying the staff, the recommendation of the staff report.
Yeah.
So that doesn't automatically mean that it will go to limited, it will go back to what the applicant submitted. that'll be up for discussion at the planning commission meeting and how that all breaks out. So what you're recommending is if this would get approved by the planning commission, you're telling your city council member that you don't wanna support.
I don't wanna limit that.
Correct.
All right.
So you're denying
Can you say that?
the
So,
staff.
so we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second to that motion? For lack of second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
You go first. It sounds like we can't really wait, but I would like to wait on this for the DAB, because it doesn't sound like that they've got it all together. All the options explored, but I am, if we have to decide, I am in support of the recommendation, from staff. I think it's a good secondary option in placement of what they're asking for, because they asked for limited commercials to provide required parking. And if GL will provide that, I don't see what the issue is. And it says like, but then the client also says that it's a possibility that they're gonna do something else. So that, to me, brings a concern on making it a limited commercial.
But I don't wanna limit the opportunity of what they wanna do if they presented it to, residents in the community, and there's been no feedback, no pushback, no anything. And so my main concern was that you gave the residents in the community an opportunity to express, how they felt about what you wanted to accomplish, or the ideas you had for, the building. However, and I understand how the importance of your neighborhood and keeping your neighborhood infrastructure and all those things together, but at the same time, I don't wanna deny them an opportunity to, grow their opportunities or whatever, if there's no pushback, there's no response. And so that's my only, reasons for, seconding the motion to deny the recommendation that the city has made, to deny their request.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, I sort of look at it from a standpoint of, as far as the agent was concerned, that went in and did the remodeling and knew that from the beginning that they were gonna have some, additional businesses come in. Why didn't you look at getting this information prior to your remodeling the building and getting all of these vendors in, and now you're asking for permission to expand and go this route? I mean, I think this should have been something that should have been done up front.
So there's a couple aspects to that. As WG said, he's owned this property for 20 years or so. So he's had the property for a long time. It's been developed now. And during that time, there was a condemnation case. So it means that the city road widened. So he lost part of his parking lot essentially then, and it kind of limits movements through it. So his main concern was with that now. And like we said, we don't want to lose the flexibility of the future if, say, another lot comes up to be for sale at the south. If that was picked up, then we'd have to go through this again. And if he ever wanted to develop the south side lot, he could. It's not that he has anything in mind now. It's all just future looking. We don't have any plans for that at the moment.
Let me give you an idea of what is permitted in limited commercial. Permitted, they don't have to do anything other than meet parking requirements, screening, etc. Nightclub in the city, nursery and garden centers, office general, parking area commercial, pawn shop, personal care service, personal improvement service, post office substation, printing and copying, recreation and entertainment indoor, restaurant, retail general, secondhand store, service station. That's why I say staff is recommending general office to limit some of these more intensive uses. And I understand that the current owner has no intention of doing that right now, that would be what is allowed in limited commercial.
Do you have the full listing for G?
I have that passed
Can you
down
read
here.
that?
Yeah, you guys can just keep my copy. Sorry.
The whole lot is only 6,000 feet.
Yeah, but the,
I mean, what are you gonna do with 6,000 feet?
It's all right. What we can do, and Brandon, can they make a recommendation with conditions like the planning commission can?
yeah, they can.
Okay,
So-
so you could
Well,
recommend.
real quick, we still have the motion on the floor, so
what motion is on?
as to deny the staff recommendation. So it's been moved and seconded, we're in discussion.
Right. And my point on that, they're still negotiating, I would hate to limit their negotiating. I would like to take a hand away from the city in the negotiation. They may want to accept that at some point. So limiting things is not, to me, a good thing. I still think they should have they requested, and it doesn't give them that, it gives them just denying the city. And I don't like denying things until negotiations are complete. These guys could, there are things to do still. If we don't wanna approve their recommendation, we don't wanna approve the staff recommendation, I think we should approve waiting until they figure out what they do want. I think that's our only three options.
Let me ask, hey, Brent, Councilman, when did the negotiations go with the city? When do you start talking to them saying?
Hold on. Kathy, does this have to come back to the DAB or no?
Now, what is gonna happen next is we're gonna have the public hearing at the planning commission. At that point, the agent and applicant can say, we would like to have limited commercial but prohibit these uses, yada, yada, yada. And it's only at that point that the planning commission now has the authority to make those kinds of conditions
Right.
for this case. So there's no, until we have the planning commission, and if they should choose to approve the limited commercial with conditions, we aren't gonna know that until, whether they're gonna limit the uses or what the agent could present that may make this more palatable for the commission to approve if they don't wanna go with the recommended staff report.
And am I correct in saying that once our vote happens tonight and it goes to MAPC, the only way it comes back to DAB is if the council sends it back?
I don't know that the council can send it back to the planning commission, okay, but it wouldn't send it back to the district advisory board. The planning commission, a lot of times they ask what the district advisory board recommendation was, but that does not, the district advisory board recommendation is only for you as the council person.
Okay.
So, it's just a way of getting more input, for the application.
Okay.
So, you could request that it come back, the district advisory board, I guess, could request that it come back, before it gets scheduled for, final approval by city council. But that doesn't sound like that's an option that the applicant wants to take at this point.
It'll be better than missing the planning commission.
Yeah,
But again, the city,
Is that every 2 weeks, Kathy?
the planning
If we had to
commission,
come back, because it'd be September, does anyone know when the city council meetings are? Because their next DAB meeting is September the 10th, correct?
yeah. So if, probably 2 weeks after that it would go to the.
but I just wanna say something.
City
Again, the
commission.
city recommended it, if LC, if we did the PO on the north side of the building, on the north
On the
portion.
entire parcel. The same, but without the changes, without the modification of the sign on the south side.
Okay, well, I think we should go back and say, okay, we'll do that, and we'll just to make the sign go off at 9:30 at night, 9 o'clock at night when it's still daylight
Well,
out.
and that's,
or whatever.
that's fine, but that's something, I'm saying that at this meeting,
That is
I
the
can't make those.
So, but can they approve our requested conditions?
All right, so with this discussion, we still have a motion on the floor that has been seconded. Is there any further discussion? So we have a motion and a second with no further discussion.
I just want to say, my only apprehension to your plan is that right now we have a building on 21st and Grove that was zoned, and we have no idea what businesses get ready to come in. And you're saying you wanted one thing, but there's a possibility you want something else.
Correct.
Correct.
But it's
So-
only 6,000 feet. The whole
Well-
site is only 6,000 feet,
Right.
which, and you have a 25-foot setback line, which really leaves you with it not developable at all.
Well, it must be because you want it, so there's a reason.
No, there's no reason.
The reason is just
So
future
I-
flexibility.
No matter how this vote goes, I just want to go on the record to say I'm going to stand with staff until we just needed more information because it's changed from what you originally said.
Is there any further discussion? We have a motion on the floor that has been seconded. Mr. Thompson, would you repeat your motion, please?
I would like to make a motion that the staff recommendation be denied.
And that was seconded by Mr. Holland. Still second that, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right, we have a motion and a second. No further discussion. All in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. Is that two? All right, all opposed, please raise your hand. All right, motion fails.
I would like to make a motion that we go with staff's recommendation of denying. Is that where we're on now? Well,
Yeah, you can make that motion.
Nobody made that motion. All right, so we have a motion on the floor to accept the staff recommendation. Is there a second? All right.
I
and-
second the motion.
All right, we have a second. Ms. Neal has seconded that motion. Is there any further discussion? All right, all in favor of this motion to accept the staff recommendation, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 2. All opposed, please raise your hand. All right, motion fails.
Did you say motion to table?
So I think what you have here is some on the board that's not necessarily against or for, and are really wanting more information. And so, not necessarily sure or settled on which direction to go based upon what we observed tonight. Looks like there's some, as they discuss amongst themselves, different possibilities. I think that has had some effect on the decisions being made at this table. And so, because when you say, well, you know, there's a motion to accept the staff's recommendation, I think, you know, some of us are kind of in between on needing more information. So it's not necessarily a yes or a no. I think that's why we're kind of at this impasse.
It's appeared that the parties have been willing to negotiate and kind of, oh, well, what about this option, what about this option, even though like this meeting may not be the best place for that, which has left some of us a little bit hesitant on voting for something that obviously is not gonna be set in stone, or it appears to not be set in stone by just how this meeting has kind of played out. It makes me uncomfortable voting for it, knowing it probably won't end up going that way anyways.
Would you like to make a motion?
So, motion
I-
to table it, is that?
Yeah, well, I'd like to make a motion that it be brought back to us when they decide what they want to do.
That's a great motion.
Yeah.
As
Okay,
an update
that's-
or as a vote, because there's a
I would like
conversation.
to vote on what they, on what they agree upon.
I second that.
Really doesn't have to come back to us, you guys, that's
A
fine.
request.
You can
It comes
request an
back.
update information, but it's not a vote. When it comes back, it'll just be an update, just like previous cases that we've had. It's, once it goes to MAPC, it does not have to come back to us.
So even if the recommendation is for it to come back to us, doesn't mean that will be necessarily granted that opportunity?
To
Or are you
have input,
suggesting
to have
that-
input, you won't have the information to have input, but just to have an update on maybe what their negotiation was.
Okay.
But our job is to make recommendations to Brandon. So at that time, we can vote to recommend accepting or denying to Brandon and give our opinion. One way or the other. Whether it's official or not, and has merit and weight, it probably doesn't, but we can make our opinion known to Brandon. Did we agree what they agree upon, or we disagree with what they agree upon? I would like it to come back to us and give him that recommendation.
Because it
That's my
sounds like
motion.
there's more options that could be agreed upon by the parties, and that the one presented tonight
And that gives
may
them
not
time.
necessarily be the best one. And tonight, I think we saw that they're willing to work to figure out what other options are available. I hate to make you wait another
No,
30 days.
that's okay.
But it sounds like you're more willing to do that than to just get a flat out no tonight.
Well, yeah. I mean, at minimum,
There you go.
at minimum,
So
we want a
let's do
parking
it.
lot.
So with that, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
So we have a second from Anicia. All right, now we have a motion and a second. No further discussion. All in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed, please raise your hand. Motion carries. All right.
Okay, yeah. And so the motion was they request a hearing. Can you read the final version of the motion? Was it to hear it again?
Yes.
Request to hear it again?
Requested to come back to us next
Okay.
month.
Okay, so, we're looking at it, sorry it took us so long to pull it up. Our planning commission is this week, and then the soonest we would be on, like if we were hustling, the soonest we'd be on city council would be September 11th. So your next step is
Well,
September
if
10th.
it has to come back to DAB,
We're September seventh.
you're September the tenth.
We're 10th.
10.
Yeah, but the soonest we'd be for city council is September 11th, so they can still have their DAB meeting before city council.
No, because the DAB action has to go into the recommended, the agenda report that
Oh,
goes to city council.
For city council.
So they
Okay,
would, they would just have we would have it at our meeting and they would let me know the day before the vote. So,
They'd have conversation, it wouldn't go on record, it would just be conversation. It's an update, it would
Yeah.
come back to DAB as an update.
Maybe we can make a recommendation upon that.
Yeah, I just want to let you know that you would be able to hear it before we went to city council and the regular DAB meetings.
thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So, in the spirit of keeping us here until midnight,
Don't do that to me.
so we have moved on to the 8th item on our agenda, updates, issues, and reports. All right, let's start with Mr. Holland. Updates, issues, reports.
Nothing on my front.
Anicia?
Nope.
Joseph? Wow. Tadana?
Just want to reiterate to support your local library, Maya Angelou, Northeast Branch is having a community celebration this Saturday, 2 to 5. Lots of kid events, but also enough events that are carrying to the adults. So I want you guys to just come out and support. We forgot to mention it's the first 50 that sign up for a library card, so make sure you come out and do that right away. That way you can get your goodie bag. And
Will there be Jolly Ranchers?
I can make sure there's Jolly Ranchers in there for you, Councilman.
There we go.
Okay.
That's what I'm talking about. Is that all?
That's it.
All right. Tom?
I don't have anything at this time.
Mr. Thompson?
Nothing today.
Dan?
I'm good.
Wanda?
Like to report that the Wichita Golden Bulldogs are wrapping up a 5-week session. We've had education initiative in partnership with CMC 259. Our 6th, 7th, and 8th graders had a education push. They got the first 9 weeks of math and reading that'll be in the middle schools. This coming Thursday will be the celebration of the summer. Again, USD 259 will be out. We're hoping some media will be out, and we just want to congratulate the young men and women for sticking our last class, we had 72 young people in class.
Is that William Full-Line?
William Polite.
Thank you. Well, for me, I will make sure, it was mentioned earlier regarding fireworks, I'll get that information to you all as a DAB once it's finalized. This last weekend, Black Panther was at Maya Angelou, did a reading, some members of Urban Professionals. It's pretty good. Also want to recommend everybody, again, look over the proposed city budget. If you have any input, please let me and the other council members know. Tomorrow's a public hearing during the council meeting, and then we will vote on the proposed budget next Tuesday. So again, if you want to give us any input, thoughts, please reach out to us. In lieu of not having a breakfast this month, I will be hosting a coffee at 8 o'clock on Saturday over at Reverie. If you'd like to attend there, again, open to hear any ideas, discussion, budget, whatever it is. Again, that's this Saturday, 8 a.m. over at Reverie.
Get the email or anything?
It was sent Wednesday in the newsletter. It really was just sent.
Okay, you have any other-
I missed it, sorry.
I'd like to, give an update on Convoy of Hope that took place this last Saturday at McAdams Park. Over 2,200 kids received backpacks, haircuts, school supplies, shoes, immunizations, free physicals, and family portraits. Adults were able to get their haircut also, and so we're grateful for the second annual event that took place.
What was the city number on that?
What do you mean city numbers?
There's 2 locations.
So I'm only reporting at McAdams, there was over 2,200 kids served.
But you don't know what the.
We don't have an overall numbers yet.
All right, well, that's all we have.
Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
There's 10 seconds. All in favor, stand up.
And go.
All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you all for being here.